You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody, to Orange Monday. Oh, boy. Welcome, everybody. Charlie Martini, Moanep, good for Gabby. Michael Hasser, welcome. Hello, hello. Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Orange Monday. Hi, howdy. Yeah, the orangest orange. The orangest of Mondays. Orange Hitler Monday? Yep. By the way, nobody checked their 401ks, okay? Nobody checked their retirement funds. Don't do it. Hey, is anybody tired of winning yet? Are we tired of winning? All right, folks, we got to get started. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Folks, if you want to support the channel, there are many different ways of doing so. Consider first of all, joining the Discord. Subscribe to the Substack if you want to support the channel directly. Check out the merch store and hit that exclamation mark tip button. It really does help us out. I appreciate all of you guys being here. Thank you, guys. I don't have one to check, so what a relief. Well, I suppose that's the silver lining, right? Can't lose your retirement fund if you have none, I guess. Man, what a freaking sad state of affairs. Okay, and this is being, by the way, this is being portrayed as a success, in a very Orwellian, I guess, way. Ooh, excuse me. In a very Orwellian way. Apparently this is great, and everything is fine. Nothing to see here, folks, you know. Just people's retirement funds just disappearing. Markets approaching, like, I think this is pretty unprecedented as it is. And of course, right after that, he doubled down. He doubled down, and on top of that, said that he wants to threaten more tariffs and that he's serious about this. So, yeah. Every mushroom cloud has a silver lining. Let's get started, folks. We got two big topics that we're going to basically be running through today. The very predictable and catastrophic economic downturn, and of course, we are following this case of the Maryland man Armando Abrega Garcia. We are following this case very closely because it's the implications of this are very big. So it is very important to follow up on whatever updates we get. So we'll be talking about that. So this is basically the two biggest topics that are happening here. All right, folks, let's get started.
While certainly the economy will be adjusting, the negotiations will continue. We are really, really excited and very grateful to President Trump's leadership and being willing to be bold and fearless in facing some pretty
everything's great. Look at that. Isn't that cool?
big policy challenges around the world.
So what is the impact on farmers then?
Well, we'll see.
With the market down 1,238 points right now on the Dow Industrials and the NASDAQ down.
Yeah, we're not gonna answer that question because that might be a little awkward, right?
800 right now, and the market's not even open. Futures indicating a very ugly opening. Now would be the time for some clarity on extending the tax cuts.
I think everyone understands the national security reason in the long run to take an economic hit in order to decouple from China. The question is, why are we needlessly ticking off Canada? People
Yeah, also, like, hey, here's the thing, though. Like, there's no industrial, like, production happening here. The manufacturing industry, that would be the manufacturing, like, capacity that is needed to be like, okay, we're gonna just, like, decouple from the world, right, is not feasible, okay? It's just not gonna happen, okay? This was a bad idea, and the only thing that I can think of is that, like, this guy was just trying to, like, essentially, like, short the markets and make sure that his rich buddies make a killing off this, right?
People are unclear as far as how he arrived at some of these tariffs, which also opens the door, in my view, to some negotiation. But the national security issues here are clear.
As you saw, the Trump sycophants on Fox Business News were trying as hard as they possibly could to rationalize Donald Trump's nonsensical tariffs, but they're struggling to do.
And it's still happening. Like, Trump is out there, like, saying that everything is fine. Like, nothing to see here, folks.
That because at the end of the day, these people are loyal to capital and capital only. But they also don't want to offend Donald Trump. However, when you wake up and you see stock market numbers like this in the aftermath of Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day, you can't not be visibly shaken. And they were. You can see the panic in their eyes.
Other good Kilmer movies: Real Genius, A Saint, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Bang, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Gotta add some of those to the list. Stand Up Maths had some good tariff coverage.
So
I've
they're
never seen their channel.
Trying to strike this balance where they're making it clear that they're worried about the future of the economy as well as their stock portfolios, of course. But at the same time, they don't want to overtly attack Donald Trump over this nonsensical policy. So they're forced to do this really weird and awkward dance where they have to speculate that he
Bad lefty, welcome.
some sort of a broader strategy that they're just not privy to, or pretend like he's playing 4D chess, even though they obviously don't believe that. They know this is stupid. And if you read between
Adrian Vixen, Surfs Raiders. Hey, welcome, everybody. Welcome.
the lines, their actual reaction is something more like, what the fuck? Not, oh, he must be playing 4D chess. He must have a plan, right? Because how could you not have that reaction if your entire show centers on business, on capitalism? Now, to show you what I mean, Maria Bartiromo of Fox Business, she spoke to Brooke Rollins, who is Donald Trump's agriculture secretary, and over the course of the last couple of months, Rollins has come on this show over and over again and assured Bartiromo that they're doing everything in their power to bring down the cost of eggs. The only problem is that Trump's tariffs are going to directly undermine that effort. So just watch and...
I mean, like, I was in Florida not that long ago, okay? And, like, literally not that long ago. I would say, when was this chat? A couple weeks ago? Like 3 weeks ago, we'll say. And the price of eggs there at the store that I went to was like just shy of under $10 a dozen. That is absurd. That is absurd. Saris, welcome. Hey, how's it going?
Take a look at the reaction.
Where are the eggs coming from that you're importing?
Well, we're importing from Turkey. We're importing from South Korea. We're talking to a few other countries right now. But again, at the end of the day, once our farms are repopulated in just a couple of months, it doesn't take long for those baby hens to get to the egg laying point, that once that happens, then we'll go back to pretty much using all American laid eggs.
So then that means that eggs will be tariffed if you're taking them from Turkey, right? That's part of
Fantastic. Florida needs to turn some of their orange farms into chicken farms.
Tariff plan.
Yes, I mean, all to be determined. We're all in negotiations, but yes.
But yes, your eggs will not go down in price. Okay, well, thanks for the clarification. Welcome, Soul Life.
That's a possibility.
I mean, if you're a Fox News propagandist, how are you supposed to spin that? You're importing eggs to bring down the cost, yet you're imposing arbitrary tariffs on the country you're importing the eggs from, which will raise the cost, thus making the importation of eggs completely pointless if your goal is to bring down the cost. I mean, even the most skilled propagandists can't polish that turd. And that's why some Fox Business hosts have just kind of given up, because even though they know that, you know, their job is basically to spin everything that Trump does as a positive, sometimes you just can't do that. Sometimes you just have to basically give up and say, I can't defend this. Not going to attack them, but I can't defend this. Now, not all industries are going to be affected equally. For example, 900 American workers across 5 different Stellantis supply factories were laid off, and this came after the company announced that they were pausing production in direct response to Donald Trump's tariffs.
Right, like this is why this is so freaking infuriating that like the UAW was supporting this crap. Sassy Sassurai. Eggs were always the code for I'm a racist psychopath and I want to pretend I have legitimate grievances. True.
So the auto industry in particular is going to be negatively affected, and Trump's goal is to use these tariffs to spark a manufacturing boom in America, but it's not that simple, and this led to a pretty heated debate on Fox Business between 2 hosts, one of them who was trying to spin it as a positive, and the other who was just like, whatever, bro, that's not what she said, I'm paraphrasing.
I read that there's only 4% less eggs than the same time last year. Is 9.75, only a 4% hike. It's all a facade. Sean Fain's credibility has evaporated. Yep. Stand Up Mats explains the formula in detail.
But just watch.
Well, BMW is going to rethink South Carolina because it's not going to import tariffed parts, engines from Germany, then to send those vehicles to export them. So again, it will mean if that plant stays open, it will mean fewer jobs potentially because they're going to make those vehicles somewhere else.
Well, where are they going to sell them now?
They sell them to China. They sell them to China and they sell them to Europe.
So every American customer who could buy a BMW could be replaced overnight by a Chinese customer.
They sell them they export them to China.
No, but I'm saying you can't make
they import the parts, which will be.
Oh my God. And by the way, I think I found what Nadia was talking about. If you want like an actual like really like in-depth explanation, check out this YouTube video from Stand Up Mats. If you want like a little bit more like in-depth like explanation of this, I think this is what Nadia was talking about.
Tariffed, and then they will export them from the United States where they're manufactured back to Europe where they will be tariffed again, and then to China and nations around the globe, right? So these are the problems that a U.S. man.
He was being investigated by he's being investigated by the FBI. Breaking Points covered the story. It sounded like petty revenge, but who knows? Who? Sean Fain?
Manufacturer faces because the parts are coming from somewhere else.
They can also just make the parts here. They can make the car.
No, they
here.
can't. Absolutely not. That's a fallacy.
It's impossible.
Yeah, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. How about it?
It wouldn't take that long. Anyway, as far as the payments are concerned.
To build German engines in the United States. Okay.
Damn. Now, Charles Payne, him defending this doesn't necessarily surprise me, even though he's the...
Yeah? Oof. I didn't know about that. That's freaking wild. Ladybug, welcome. Our U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, former Cotton Bowl Classic queen.
Money guy, because to him, dick riding is a sport. I mean, Trump could shit down his throat, literally, and he would defend it. He'd say, oh, well, thank you, President Trump, because you're just giving me all of your vitamins and minerals or something. Like, that's disgusting, but you get the point. The man will not criticize Donald Trump. But, I mean, if you care about money, and this is fucking with your bag, you should maybe speak up, otherwise people are going to think that you're a fucking useless hack. Anyways, in all fairness, I'm not automatically against tariffs every single time. They're an economic tool that could benefit American companies if used intelligently. Trump is not doing that. Arbitrary tariff.
Yeah, I mean, like, the reason why this doesn't work is because, like, we don't have a domestic manufacturing capacity. We just don't. Okay, we just don't. And then, like, just like blanket tariffing the entire planet, right? Thinking that this is somehow a negotiation tactic to bring people to the table. That's not how this works. Okay, Trump thinks that he can solve every problem by being a bully because he thinks that everyone's going to bow down to him. That's not how this works, man. That's not how this works. The FBI could also be seen, could also be why Sean is playing nice with Trump. Gotcha.
Tariffs across the board are just going to amount to an effective...
Chris Murphy was saying that tariffs are just a way for Trump to get more bribes. Yeah, I mean, I guess what he was talking about, I imagine what he's saying is that, like, he wants companies to go and grovel at his feet and say, like, can we get exemptions, please? And here's what we'll do for you, right? Like, forcing a quid pro quo. I can't believe we did a Cuba to ourselves. The American empire has just effing died. Stand-up math explains a lot more problems with the idea.
Tax hike on him.
Yeah, stand-up math, I just kind of perused the channel. It seems like a more like cerebral, in-depth explanation.
American consumers for virtually all products. We've explained this before. I don't want to get into it, but it's not going to be good for our wallets. And the retaliatory tariffs are going to cause prices to spike even higher. I mean, the Nintendo Switch 2 was just announced yesterday. It's $450, but Kotaku is reporting that it could be as high as $600 in the end because of Trump's tariffs and retaliatory tariffs. I mean, games are already $80, so how much higher will they go? How many more things will we be priced out of because of these tariffs? But Trump is trying to frame these tariffs as reciprocal tariffs. But even conservative economists are looking at that and pointing out how the math ain't mathin', as the kids say. And HuffPost reports the Trump administration is seemingly determining tariffs by dividing the trade deficit they have with any given country with exports.
Thank you for the follow, Sad Safik. Why? It's way too damaging to be a negotiation tactic or a good idea. I know they're all idiots, but come on. I think the damage is intentional, isolationism, and corporate fiefdoms. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that this is, like, Trump may not know, like, you know, the extent of what he's doing, But like the people that are supporting this stuff certainly know and certainly are ready or think that they're ready to take advantage of this.
And a journalist for the Washington Examiner, which is a conservative outlet for those who don't know, explained how what they're doing, like the way they're calculating this, doesn't make any sense.
I hope we're all correct that this is about negotiation and that's why there's the staggered date. It did not instill confidence in me because the basis of their justification for the national emergency legally is manufacturing capacity, even though.
Oh my God, you have to laugh, man. You have to laugh because, like, yeah, otherwise, like, yeah, I mean, this is freaking absurd, man. This is so freaking absurd. Dude, I mean, can they really be so incompetent that they're asking Grok what to do? Yeah, I don't freaking know, man. It could be both, that they're like intentionally trying to like destabilize this country, thinking they're gonna make out like bandits, right? But like also the way that this is being implemented is completely idiotic, and they're overplaying their hand. I mean, like these things could all be true. I just don't know like what. I mean, at the end of the day, like this is happening, right? This is happening.
Real manufacturing output, per the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is up 51% since NAFTA was passed. But also, the biggest issue with the tariffs, in my estimation, is how they estimated that reciprocal amount. It is not actually based on what Trade.gov, which is the Trump administration's official trade website, they say Vietnam only has an average effective tariff of 15%. On the tariff sheet, it says 90. Taiwan, 6%. Tariff sheet says 32%. Switzerland only has 1.7% average tariff rate on our exports. And yet Trump claims that they tariff us 61%. And it's because they use this incredibly crude algorithm of doing the trade deficit of a given country divided by the number of imports we have from that country.
Yeah, like, and this is all just like made like by AI, I'm sure. I think some folks in chat pointed that out, and I believe it. I believe it. They fired everyone who actually knows how to do stuff. Are they overplaying their hand if they're getting away with it? I mean, for now. For now. You know, there's only so much that they can push, and they're really speed running this whole thing. The letter hack, welcome. Good point. On one hand, Project 2025 is being executed. On the other hand, it's being coordinated by Trump and Elon, two billionaires and two idiots. Crazy how much smoke politicians have for student protesters, but can't say anything about this. Sup?
That's not what a non-tariff barrier should mean. It should mean things like environmental bans, carbon taxes, GMO bans, and whatnot.
In other words, this is such a dumb move that it has to be the case that it's a negotiating tactic. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. It's completely devoid of strategy on its face. So Trump has to have some broader plan that he's just not telling us about, right? Right?
You guys know how I think he's doing, but Democrats and other critics say that he's going too far too fast, and they are criticizing.
Get out of here.
Maybe, but it's not what these people think. Now, there's a lot of focus on the cost of consumer goods going up, rightfully so, but this could...
He explains what they're probably thinking and the way it would really have to be done to achieve that goal. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't... I don't know, like... if they actually want to achieve like a positive goal as far as like economics, because like it benefits them for this whole thing to go down. One pays them and one risks their career, so AIPAC is their safer bet.
Could literally trigger an economic recession, possibly a depression. So just talking about how the costs for consumers will increase really misses the forest for the trees. Like, we are looking at mass economic pain if Trump doesn't back down, which is why even the goons at Fox Business can't unequivocally defend Trump like this, because if the economy crashes and they defend it, they'll be forever discredited. Not that they care much about that anyway, since they're defending a fascist in the first place, but still, you know, at the end of the day, their loyalty is to capital, which is why, they have to make sure that.
Yeah. I mean, assuming that they have any type of credibility is being very charitable, right? Like, the only people that actually believe what's being, like, spewed on, like, Fox anything, Fox News, Fox Business, like, are just people that are in the Kool-Aid, right? Like, who have drank the Kool-Aid. Watching a billionaire heist. Yeah, no doubt about it.
They're looking out for large multinational corporations, which is why they're very politely trying to get Donald Trump to pump the brakes before they fuck up the bag for a lot of the people that, they're shilling for, the CEOs, the business class. But it's not just Fox News propagandists who are concerned. It's Republican lawmakers as well who've made it clear that things could get really bad if Trump doesn't back down. And when I say bad, they're not concerned about how bad it's going to be for the economy, because even though these politicians are shills for their corporate donors, they care more about their political careers. They're going to be okay economically, they're rich, but politically, this is going to be devastating for Republicans, and they are trying to communicate that to Trump emphatically whenever they can.
I mean, like, I hope so, but, like, I mean, which one of these clowns, which one of these cult members is going to be like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm just watching my retirement just kind of, like, fade away into the ether. But, like, yeah, I'm not gonna, but yeah, I'm gonna still vote for him. Like, how many of those people exist? A lot of those people, so we'll see. Hey, chatties, how are the Trump cultists in your lives responding to the stock market crash? Are they eating up the temporary pain narrative? I would say that most of them are. If I had to place a bet, I would say most of them are.
Tariffs have also led to political decimation. When McKinley most famously put tariffs on in 1890, they lost 50% of their seats in the next election. When Hott Smuley put on their tariff in the early 1930s, we lost the House and the Senate for 60 years. So they're not only bad.
Oh, man. Oof. Oh, come on. Please, 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 please. From your ears, from your mouth to God's ears, Rand Paul. Okay? From your mouth to God's ears, okay? Because Trump is not backing down. Trump is not backing down out of this.
Economically, they're bad politically.
In the long run, we're all dead. Short run matters too. Nobody knows what the impact of these tariffs is.
That's not true. We do know what tariffs do. What are you talking about, Foghorn? Foghorn Leghorn? We know what tariffs do, man. What are you talking about? Like, tariffs is not a new concept. Man, there's people sending their own savings to build a wall. True. Which incidentally ended up being a scam. Which is why Stephen Bannon was in jail for like 2 days. I'm exaggerating, but he was in jail for that. For literally exactly that. For stealing people's money who sent that money to build the wall. Like, what was it? The Build the Wall project or whatever? I forget. It doesn't matter. That's exactly what he went to jail for. We need to seize the means of production. Man, I wish. Ferris Bueller. Yeah. Yep. That scene. If Trump burns the party, all top people will still win, the Heritage Foundation and Trump and Elon.
This is going to be on the economy.
So they know they're cooked. Also, Republican Senator Tom Moran.
I mean, like, yeah, he could burn the party, and like maybe that would be that's what's necessary, because there's going to be an endpoint to this, right? There's going to be an endpoint to this. I think it's just a matter of like how that is handled that will determine you know, what happens next, right? Like Sassy Sassari, like everything, literally everything that Elon owns especially after doing all the things that he's done. Like everything should just be like expropriated. Like someone like Elon Musk just does not need to exist in society, right? Like people like Elon Musk who have like hundreds of billions of dollars. This can't continue.
Told Manu Raju of CNN that he is surprised that the tariffs aren't more targeted and thinks that we should focus on our adversaries, not our allies. And I love how everything they do, they have to use kid gloves when it comes to Donald Trump, because they're trying to say, look, we're all fucked. But they're trying to say that in the nicest way possible so as to not offend Donald Trump or provoke him or his supporters. But at the same time, they know that this could be a death warrant for the Republican Party, assuming we have free and fair elections, because as Stacey K put it on Twitter, we've done this mass tariff thing 3 times in American history, 1828, 1930, 2025, all spaced out about 100 years apart, because everyone who remember the last one needs to be dead for the next one to happen. The last 2 caused the Depression. I hope this one makes us rich, though.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, but like also we know, right? Like this is the age where you could literally have the entire world's information in the palm of your hands. We know this stuff. We know what the tariffs did, okay? This isn't like something that maybe back then, people can forget because it was just kind of lost to history, whatever. But like now, literally, you could take 5 seconds and Google what these timelines were and what they look like and what their effects were. I mean, this is so freaking embarrassing. It's like stepping on a rake consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to work this time. Definitely. But to the credit of the American people, they're at least smart enough to know how devastating this is going to be to the economy. Not smart enough to vote against the guy saying he's going to impose universal tariffs, but smart enough to know that this is not the best idea, to put it mildly. And Harry Anton of CNN is going to break down just how unpopular this move is.
The press secretary criticized the people she calls the naysayers when it comes to these tariffs. Who are the naysayers?
The naysayers are the majority of the American public. It's the American people who are the naysayers. Oppose new tariffs on other countries. All goods, look at this. 56% of Americans oppose new tariffs on all goods. How about cars in particular? 56% of Americans oppose new tariffs on...
Yeah, but like that still leaves an uncomfortable amount of people that are like, yes, this is a good idea. Oh my goodness. I mean, like, while that's, yes, the majority, it's still an uncomfortable amount of people that think that this is a good idea or don't know what's going on.
Imported cars and car parts. Look, the bottom line is the American people oppose. No. They do not want new tariffs. I looked at a ton of polling. It's really hard to find any in which you find folks supporting new tariffs, maybe against China, but against all our other countries, especially our allies, no. Oppose.
So Caroline Leavitt again told Kate in that discussion that the president is laser focused.
They do these surveys, but do they confirm that the people ask that they know what the tariffs are? True. Democrats used to be in favor of tariffs and protecting the working man. Well, it depends. Like the way Trump is doing it has absolutely no, they're not protecting the working class. Like the way this is being implemented is just like essentially what this is like throwing a hand grenade into the throwing a hand grenade into the global economy. Trump just got endorsements from steelworker unions. That's cool, dude. That's super cool. It's still wrong. I don't give a shit. Like, it's still super wrong, and it's incredibly destructive to the economy. Like, you're just demonstrating that you have no friggin' idea what you're talking about. Wow, you guys are all free market zealots. Glad you're on our side now. Nope. What a moron. Like, just because you don't understand, like, just because, like, the left understands capitalism better than like, the supposed defenders of capitalism and can articulate why this is a freaking bad idea, right? Doesn't mean that all of a sudden we are in favor of the free market or believe that the free market is all of a sudden, like, the answer. Like, implementing tariffs is not the free market. That's actually explicitly the opposite, because a tariff is something that the government is intervening with. So no, that's not the free market. Implementing a broad tariff like mandated by the government is not the free market? Question mark? Oh man, this is bad. This is so freaking bad. This is so freaking bad. You can't gotcha someone by arguing in bad faith. Right, like, oh, so you guys don't believe in tariffs, therefore you're now part of, like, the free market thing? No, these are not the same things. These are explicitly not the same things. They're trying to play spreadsheet games and use tariff revenue as a way to provide billionaire tax cuts. There are U.S. industries that will get bailed out on our dime if things get bad enough. There's historical context, so of course they applaud Trump. Right. Like, this is the same thing, like, with the UAW, right? With the UAW workers.
Focused on reducing prices. What do voters say that they believe the tariffs?
Like, just because we disagree with, like, with a union doesn't make us not support unions, right? Like, this is just, like, economically bad decisions, like that bad decision making, right? And, like, it's bad decision making to the point where it affects all of us. Like I said, what Trump is doing isn't like, oh, we're gonna try to, like, build up manufacturing, here, and we're gonna bring back manufacturing, and then to protect the American manufacturing that we brought back after decades, we're going to impose, like, precise tariffs to protect those industries. But, like, that's not what's happening, okay? I hate tariffs because I don't want to pay $3,000 for an effing phone.
Will do to prices.
What do voters believe the tariffs will do to prices? At least in the short term, tariffs will raise prices. Again, what do we get here?
I mean, like, yeah, dude, tariffs are inherently inflationary. Like, yeah, dude, that's what tariffs do, okay? And unless you already have the setup, okay, to offer the competitive domestic version, then yeah, like, you're just dumping a grenade on the global economy. On the other hand, they're giving me an excuse not to buy the Switch 2. I will be paying $500 for the hard tag. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not buying the Switch 2. I'm sorry. Look, Nintendo, okay? Peace and love. I just can't. Okay? Not like this. Not like this. My excuse not to buy the Switch 2 is I don't like Nintendo games. I mean, there's certain franchises that I'm like, that I'm about, like the Zelda franchise, but like, and the Mario franchise, but like, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not spending $450, and presumably it's gonna be more. We've got the original Switch way back when. 5 years ago, whatever, I can't remember. And it plays Zelda, so yeah, we're good. We're good. I'm sorry. I also can't pay like $80, $90 per game. Like, that's just highway robbery, man. if all these other companies are going to start like raising prices, raising prices, like it's over. Sorry. Mario Kart is awesome. Super Smash Bros. To play like with other people. But yeah, that's about it. I mostly was using it for indie games. Nintendo games are fun if you watch kids or have random company because everyone knows how to play. Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Here, 72% of Americans overall say that the prices will go up in the short term. How about among Republicans, the Republican base? This was a shocker to me. 64% of Republicans believe that tariffs will...
Because that's what happens when you put tariffs on stuff. They go up. I just got a handheld computer, runs everything. The Switch 2 is supposed to be like $700. Nope, I'm not paying $700. If the final price, right, like if the final price is $700, like it's no, dude. I'd rather buy a ROG Ally. I'd rather buy like an ROG Ally for $200 less. Okay, even if it's like a little bit less. Tech, a couple years old. The ROG Ally is pretty decent, so that's what I would get. The price of the Switch 2 makes a Steam Deck or something similar make way more sense. Yep. Wait till avocados are $7 a piece and the price of grapes and tomatoes and other products double. Yeah, produce doubles. Yep. I have the little USB SNES with Mario Kart on it. It still rocks. Nice. $700 is too much. People buy these consoles for their violent children. That's too much.
That caused prices to go up in the near term. And get this, just 5% of Americans overall believe that tariffs, at least in the short term, will bring down prices. You don't have to be a mathematical genius.
That's 5% too many, because that's not how this works. 5% of Americans don't understand how tariffs work, is what he's saying.
Is to know, Mr. Berman, that 72 beats 5.
So nobody wants this. And the problem is that even if the cope from the Fox Business hosts is correct, and Trump is using this as a negotiating tactic, and he's going to back down at some point, the problem is that it may be already too late. Because even if he reverses course, the damage that he's caused is already going to be lasting. Trump catalyzed a reordering of the global economy in ways that are inconceivable, in ways that were inconceivable just a couple of months ago. I mean, China, Japan, and South Korea are considering a joint response to Trump's tariffs. On top of...
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not going to get the result that you want, right? You can't bully your way out of what you want. Because countries are just going to be like, well, I guess we can't negotiate with the United States anymore. Screw these guys. Let's find other more respectful countries to kind of band together. Comrade Trump bringing China and Japan together. China, Japan, and Korea, right? Like South Korea, just kind of. This is, I mean, you know. Stranger things, I guess, have happened.
The European Commission is considering a ban on U.S. soybeans in response to Trump's tariffs, which could be devastating. Canadian retailers are turning away products produced by American companies in part because of the significant decrease in demand for U.S.-made products in Canada because of the nationwide Buy Canada movement that emerged in response to Donald Trump's attacks on Canada. And the Canadian Prime Minister explained...
Domo arigato. There are permanent aspects of this, but the stocks did vertical upwards when the fake report came back from Twitter. Yeah, and then it, like, nosedived again, didn't it? The futures look really bad. We'll see how it opens tomorrow, but... Orange Tuesday, part 2?
And this phenomenon that's happening and what's taking place and how it is going to have a lasting effect.
The system of global trade anchored on the United States that Canada has relied on since the end of the Second World War, a system that, while not perfect, has helped to deliver prosperity for our country for decades, is over. Our old relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over. The 80-year period when the United States embraced the mantle of global economic leadership, when it forged alliances rooted in trust and mutual respect, and championed the free and open exchange of goods and services, is over.
Again, we're talking about Canada, our closest ally, our neighbor, north of the border. This is what it's come to. But I mean, can you blame them? Can you blame any other country who's taking this stance?
You're right. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, Mr. Trump, we're going to grovel. Please, Mr. Trump, please. No, they're going to be like, all right, well, what does China have to offer? What does the European Union have to offer? What does Australia have to offer? Can we get like a coalition going here and we just kind of like make our own little trade system? That's what's that's what's happening, right? Not oh, the United States, we must bow down to you, Mr. Trump, sir. No, that's not how this works.
Trying to untether themselves from the United States because we have no credibility. We're an impulsive rogue state that can't be trusted, not just in terms of trade, but in terms of treaties too. I mean, we joined the Paris Climate Accord, then we leave. Then we enter again. Then we leave again. We sign the JCPOA with Iran. They comply. Then we duck out for no reason whatsoever. And now Trump wants to make another deal with them after he tore up the first one. Is this the kind of country that you want to strengthen ties with? Of course not. You want to disassociate yourself from this country. You want to detach from them economically because they're just too impulsive. They can't be trusted.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can see clearly without glasses? This glasses can not only see far.
Thanks.
So that's what we're seeing. It's going to force countries into the arms of China. It's going to isolate us globally, and it's going to hurt the economy. Now, Trump thinks that we don't need other countries. We're fine on our own. We could just produce everything. He's going to find out the hard way that that's not the way that things work, and Americans don't want that. You think you're going to be able to get that shiny new Nintendo Switch too that's produced by a Japanese company? No, you won't be able to do that. Americans get cheap consumer goods from all over the world.
We love our dang treats. Robbie Rokehouse, thank you for the follow.
Our entire lives will be changed because of this. Like, the low cost of consumer goods is kind of what keeps the peasants in line. It's the circus to the bread and circus that they're providing for us. So
no more treats, chat. It's done. That's it. No more treats.
If you uproot that, then you really start to pull apart the fabric that's holding society together. And that's what Trump doesn't seem to realize. And he's going to realize just how wrong he is pretty quickly. So the damage that he's doing to the country, it's going to last generations. That is, if America can even survive a minimum of 4 more years of Donald Trump. I don't know how bad it's going to be in 4 years if things are this bad just 2 months into his presidency. He is destroying the economy. He's destroying.
I mean, like, it's only been literally 3. Well, yeah, they say call it just over. Yeah, call it just over 2.5 months, right? 2 months and a week or whatever. Couple weeks. It feels like so much longer. It feels like it's been freaking years.
Destroying democracy, and he's making us an international pariah. The question is, why is he doing all of this? It's not just stupidity.
2 months and 2
Perhaps
weeks.
he does have a strategy, but it's not some 4D chess economic strategy. There's something much more nefarious about what he's doing. And I talked about before how he might be purposefully trying to crash the economy so he can enrich himself as well as his oligarch buddies. Because after the 2008 recession and the economic downturn that COVID caused, rich people got richer. They made out like bandits. So Trump destroying the economy might be another way to facilitate another massive transfer of wealth from working class Americans to elites. But on top of that, it could be a ploy to just consolidate power. And Senator Chris Murphy explains why that it might be misguided to just even refer to tariffs as economic policy altogether, because it might not be that simple.
I don't think the U.S. can deal with 4 entire years of this. He hasn't even declared martial law or used the military against protesters yet. Yeah, I mean, there was a massive, massive protest this weekend. I think the total number of protesters across the country was about shy over 3 million people. 3 million people. And there's another protest happening in a couple weeks. In a couple weeks on the 19th, I want to say. Yeah, 19th, that's a Saturday. So not this Saturday, but the next Saturday, there is another protest. He might be preparing for war or trying another Nixon shock. One thing lingering in the background, Doge can theoretically empty one's bank account at any time, can they? I mean, they do have... it's not out of the realm of possibility that Doge, the people that were able to be that had that access that they should have never had, right, to the innards of the treasury, it's not impossible to think that they still have that type of access, right? It's not impossible. Now, could they just turn off everyone's bank accounts, so to speak? I don't know. But I do know that that it's not out of the realm of possibility to assume, assume that they do still have that kind of backdoor access. Because, like, I mean, come on, there is no way to guarantee that the information is secure. Kirkenstein's Monster, welcome. I'm always late. Nah, it's all good. You're good. Eager HK that can pause withdrawals during a bank run. That's a scary thought. That's a scary thought. An appeals court gave them treasury access again. Oof.
He explains those.
Oof. I mean, yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility of a scenario where these people have like that type of access or power, I should say.
Trying to understand the tariffs as economic policy are dangerously naive. No, the tariffs are a tool to collapse our democracy, a means to compel loyalty from every business that will need to petition Trump for relief. This week, you will read many confused economists and political pundits who won't understand how the tariffs make economic sense. That's because they don't. They aren't designed as economic policy. The tariffs are simply a new, super dangerous political tool. He later goes on to explain the tariffs are a tool to erode the independence of institutions and businesses. Now, one by one, every industry or company will need to pledge loyalty to Trump in order to get sanctions relief. What could Trump demand as part of a quiet loyalty pledge? Public shows of support from executives for all of his economic policy, contributions to his political efforts, promises to police employees' support for his political opposition. The tariffs are designed to create economic hardship. Why? So that Trump has a straight-faced rationale for releasing them business by business or industry by industry as he adjusts or grants relief. It's a win-win. The economy improves and dissent disappears. In other words, you cause a problem so that way you can swoop in and offer a solution while looking like a hero. It's mafia shit.
Yeah, it's mafia shit. They're collecting a lot of information on people. I'm worried that will eventually evolve into something racially or politically targeted. I mean, you kind of, the people collecting lists, right, and compiling lists of enemies have never been the good guys. So, yeah. I'll balance some of those Americans out of 49% interest. Say it out loud. It's a effing racket. It is.
And I do think that there is some truth to what Chris Murphy is saying, because there's no other explanation for such a nonsensical economic policy. He is wielding economic pain against us like it's a weapon to enrich himself and consolidate power. He's basically destroying the economy and our democracy for self-serving reasons, which is despicable, but certainly not below him. So we don't know how bad things are going to get. But if he doesn't back down like everybody is expecting, it's going to get very bad. So brace yourself.
I'm going to come.
True. It's already here.
Welcome to the Come Zone.
This makes sense. I saw an economist predict Trump was going to burn the economy at both ends and let the next time deal with it when it finally catches up.
Should we play this one more clip? Just because the picture of...
Don't worry, folks. This is how the propaganda machine is gonna try to spin this.
Oh, Judge Janine. You've seen Howard Lutnick.
All right, back to work.
Is that his name? Yep. Howard Lutnick say.
Have a good one. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, healthy.
Old mother-in-law who lives in his mansion probably literally has 24/7 care. Unrelated to Howard, I'm saying someone he hired. would not complain if her Social Security check was a month late.
Or if she did, he would think she was a criminal.
Yes. You've heard Harris Faulkner, is that her name, say, we're at war. We're at war. A trade war that we started.
The entire world.
The entire world. And therefore, people are going to understand that if their 401ks crash, and they can't retire, within a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 from when they thought they could, or they're going to retire with, whatever, 10% less than they thought they would, people will understand. It's called patriotism.
Snap your W-2 and file your taxes 100% free. Plus, get your biggest refund. File.
Well,
that's not true. The only way you get that is if you basically only have to file like a W-2. If you have anything else or any other like circumstances when you file, you have to pay. The next stem is like 4 years away. Although I guess Congress could flip. They could. It could.
Is Judge Neen with a very similar take. It's amazing how these incredibly wealthy people are not so upset about their ability to retire.
Enough. And this is what Donald Trump ran on, and he's delivering. And you know what? I don't really care about my 401k today. You know what? Not that I can afford it. Not that it isn't important.
I mean, like, this is incredible. This is actually incredible. Heat, how's it going? I see I missed the gaming console talk. Yeah, TLDR, I'm not buying a Switch 2.
Not that I'm not at a point in my life when I should be worried about my 401k, because I am. But this is what I believe. I believe in this man. And I believe that what we're seeing now with his bringing in $1 trillion in business and manufacturing and companies.
That's not how this works. That's not how this works.
He's moving back to the United States and seeing what we saw during COVID when we couldn't, we had all those supply chain problems. We couldn't get medicine in this country. Other countries were prioritizing themselves before they were sending stuff.
I should just say that fortunately for us, pharmaceuticals are exempt from these tariffs because about 40% of our pharmaceuticals are manufactured overseas, China, India, and 80% of them have ingredients.
Not day one, but the second new mainline Zelda comes out. American politics got something interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I don't give a shit what happens to that country, but still fun to listen. Yeah, I mean, I guarantee you that it is not just us. That's our implosion affects everyone. Maybe not directly, but yeah, our implosion affects everyone. Like it is kind of a big deal. Like maybe not you personally, but yeah, it does affect well the global freaking economy, and by extension, people
from those countries. So this is not to build out any industry whatsoever that she is talking about in terms of supply lines. Now, to be fair, Biden did do that with the CHIPS Act. It was those chips. It was those that slowed up like stuff for cars, and we saw it with computers. But this is not an industrial policy, as we talked about with David Dayen. If it was, you would see a whole host of other supports from the government, not willy-nilly same tariffs on bananas as you would get on dishwashers. We're not going to grow bananas in the U.S. There's not going to be suddenly a huge...
yeah, like it's not... That's not how any of this works.
Like rise in the banana industry in New England, for instance.
Right.
Go ahead.
countries were prioritizing themselves before they were sending stuff to us. It's about time we recognize we've got to have manufacturing in this country, and we need to bring them to the table.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Donald Trump is the only one who could do it because he's got the biggest consumer base in the world. He's not afraid of anybody. He's to the wall in terms of,
Get ready for mock banana recipes to come to TikTok. Bananas in New England, ain't that too cold?
again?
Yeah, we can't grow bananas here. Not really.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And at the end, it's going to help the working class. And who's complaining? My last point.
Right.
Who's complaining? Wall Street. Too bad. He's helping the middle class. And finally, I think it's going to be over this summer.
All right, Dana, we have...
Okay, wait a second. Now, wait. Again, tariffs are a regressive tax. That means they hurt the working class more than anybody else.
Yep.
It's just that Wall Street is sensitive to it because they know that we have a consumer-based economy, and if you're going to
destroy the consumer, then like it all kinds of falls apart, right? If you destroy the consumer in a consumerist economy, then yeah,
create that type of inflation, it's going to hurt the stock market. Kowalski from Nebraska says, technically, Sam, we can grow bananas and coffee in Hawaii. It might be time for us to reach back to our colonies like the Philippines and start turning them into crop plantations. Fair.
Countries will prioritize themselves instead of us. Conservatives are like a combination between Karens and the kids who unalived in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
The mill rind. AI will fix the robots. Detective Dubois. Sam got value-tained so hard. Tim Pool's emotional support beanie. As soon as Sam starts to make them look dumb, they resort to yelling.
That's so freaking hilarious. Tim Pool's emotional support beanie. Whoever makes up these usernames when they IM the show, just like chef's kiss, man.
Over each other. It would be comical if it wasn't so sad. When they say they weren't supposed to be here, what they mean is, I don't want them here. Exactly.
It's like chimpanzees like reacting to a new chimp being introduced into the cage, and they just start jabbering.
Spike us. The great and powerful Dr. Oz. John Miller, the turning down of the volume of the shouting red face was hilarious, especially after he says, I'm not yelling. It was pretty cool, the setup they had. They had like little panels where you could actually control each mic in terms of the way that you were getting the mix in there.
Listen, Chad, I will never do that to you, okay? I could yell as loud as I want, okay? I can yell as loud as I want, and you will the microphone will be limited. Okay, so I will never subject you, okay, to a audio jump scare.
I don't know how that happened, but the problem was I didn't know, and they didn't.
We'll put tariffs on your yells. My software already does that. My software already puts tariffs on yelling. Okay. No, ADT Jones. I don't know if I could ever be able to imitate that kind of like unless I become like a full-time smoker. Okay, I don't think I could ever imitate that tone.
Which number he was. And so I kept like turning myself down in my own ears. And so you'll see by the end of
just eat some gravel, True.
Point, I'm wearing the headphones here. Is this too loud? Because he was too loud. I mean, aside from him yelling, just his mic, for whatever reason, was cranked up on mine. And he was sitting next to me, like 6 inches away from me.
His face was so red.
But the funny part is that like I sit down, and he's I think like considerably shorter than me, and I sit down and I'm like this, and he goes, "Do you want me to lower your chair?"
Whoa!
And I'm like, "No, I'm."
This is some anti-short king prejudice over here. Okay.
Hi. So I don't know if they ever put us in 2 or 3 shot or something. Daniel from Virginia. It's called a mixer. No, it's not. It was a distro. It was like a mixer, but a distribution box as well, because they were sitting on everybody's.
To have each of the mics independently adjustable boggles my mind with complexity.
That means that they must have a mix minus.
Yeah. Okay, producer Matt. It's only funny because it bothers that guy. True.
That goes to the 5 of them, the 5 seats, or that somehow there's a mix minus in these boxes that are right here. There's a lot of money invested in that studio.
Look, man, it doesn't need to be that complicated. Okay, that is an unnecessary amount of money and technology being spent there for a podcast. Okay. I mean, seriously, you could get a phenomenal freaking podcast with with the simplest of equipment that even Sam the boomer can manage. Okay, it's not that serious. You don't need to have everyone connected and independent, right? Have their own independent channel mixer, whatever. And be able to kind of do that to then throw on it's just so much, man. Turmoil has engulfed the republic. The taxation of outlying trade routes is in dispute. Trump is a Sith Lord, confirmed. True. The Siths were better than Trump.
And they may do 1 million views a day, maybe more, which is more than we do, but not that much more. And we don't fly in guests. We're going to have Matt Duss in studio next week. He's the only person we allow in studio for whatever reason.
I think Sam is saying Mike when he means headphones.
Dummy leg. There are 4 dudes in Florida with broken ankles and busted backs from all of the pivoting and goalpost pushing they did yesterday. Well done, Sam. It's not easy trying to explain progressive policies for reactionary rockheads like that. They really, I think I'm a communist. And then they were very fixated on who do you like in the presidential election. And I'm like, I really...
That's when I tuned in and they were like, just say somebody.
I mean, I said, I think I can tell you who I think is going to be running, but I need to see what their policies are. Come on. What's that about?
What's that about? Policies? What? Voting, trying to vote for people based on what kind of policies they support? No way, man. Just say you're voting the blue team, okay? So I can say I'm voting the red team. Violet Quinlaw, at least the Sith were competent. Well, the Sith were competent, kind of, but also yeah. Also, they were evil, right? So I don't want evil and competent. I'd rather they fail.
It's just about how I decide who to vote for president. I kept waiting for what the gotcha was. I'm I don't have a name.
I think they wanted to say you to say AOC so they could just do their bash AOC package or something like that. But you said McGovern and they had nothing.
Yes.
One man's evil is another man's good, especially in Star Wars. Elon's Death Star will implode when it fires. Yeah, that's the level we would be looking at.
Favorite politician? Well, I mean,
I mean, just look at the movie Don't Look Up, and that's basically it right there.
Jim McGovern, from president. He would actually be pretty good.
Can we Google Jim McGovern?
Oh, he doesn't look pretty sexy.
Google Jim McGovern woke Adam quick.
I wonder if that's the first and the last time anybody's ever going to say the name Jim McGovern on Patrick Bet-Davis show. I have not heard from Congressman McGovern for the thanks for the shout out on the PDB show. Dixie Savage
watches on the weekend.
Hey Sam, any opinion on Sean Fain and Yanis Varoufakis supporting these tariffs? I was surprised to hear that.
Clowns. Okay, look, Yeah, Giannis Varoufakis does have like some good work, okay? But they're wrong. I'm sorry, they're freaking wrong about this. They're wrong. I can see your point, but incompetent evil can be worse than competent evil. Like the biggest achievement so far of Doge is reducing tax intake $500 billion while trying for savings. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I guess like maybe I stepped in it there, because like incompetent evil could also do a boatload of destruction, right? Like they're doing right now. Yeah, I kind of stepped in it. You have an excellent point, Quinlaw.
I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, certainly from a car standpoint, this is going to be helpful to the car companies, and Trump has threatened the car companies, and Ford came out with like they're going to do even a discount. And Fain's primary agenda is going to be to strengthen the UAW.
Is this the best survival game ever made?
But how can you strengthen a union by supporting policies that are ultimately going to that are ultimately going to hurt workers, and ultimately are going to disempower unions? Like, this makes zero sense. How can this, why is this stream called About a Difficult Truth when all you guys do is insult people? True. I do agree mostly about not wanting them to be good at being evil, but yeah, kind of like flavors of destruction.
And Varoufakis, I think broadly speaking, I mean, look, I am in favor of tariffs as part of a bigger industrial plan. We need much more of this from our government. But doing tariffs without the supports mechanisms doesn't do anything.
Right. Like, especially when there's no freaking government intervention to be like, okay, we need to lay down the groundwork, the foundation, right, as to the domestic manufacturing that's going to be taking over, right? It's just not there. It's just not there. Good news, if you live in a state where cannabis is legal, it won't be affected by tariffs since it's all grown domestically. Nice. Okay, what does that foundation for domestic manufacturing look like? Well, we would need domestic manufacturing. That's what I'm talking about, right? Like, we don't have a plan to start building stuff here at home. And even if we did, he's tariffing the raw materials to make said manufacturing, like steel and lumber. So, like, yeah, there's no plan here is what I'm trying to say. Factories take steel and they just put that price of it all up. Yeah, I know. How did bro come back from the gulag? Wait, who? Portland, I'm retired. I'm retired and looking at my economic options. Death is looking better all the time. That's not the end. I know it sucks. Look, I know it sucks, and it's going to be very difficult, but what goes up, what goes down eventually will come up. This isn't a planned economy. It's supposed to be free market where banks give loans and companies issue stocks to raise funds. What are you talking about? Nobody's talking about a planned economy. You have to have government intervention in order for this to work. There's no supposed free market. The free market doesn't freaking exist. It exists in your mind and your like child's understanding of economics. There's no such thing as a free market. The government is involved at every step of the way, from like the formation of corporations to the infrastructure necessary for corporations to exist. There's no such thing as a free market.
And doing tariffs and
if there's no such thing as a free market, then we need less government to interfere in the market. Nope. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. sometimes the government does need to get involved. It's not possible. Sometimes the government just does need to get involved. And like in this case, the government like throwing a freaking grenade in the economy doesn't help anyone. I just finished reading Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. Oh, well, there's your problem right there.
In this way,
you're just reading like you're just reading like garbage. That's the problem. You're getting, which actually kind of makes sense. It actually kind of makes sense as to why you have absolutely no understanding as to what's going on, and like you're pretending how there's like a free market. When like, yeah, no. Sowell, maybe stop reading. No, wait. We just told him to start reading. Which economy growing 5% a year with deflation on products? China, which is falling 2.5% a year and has inflation. Business people will always seek to influence government. When there's no government and there's capitalism, you wind up with slavery. Why do you hate America?
Where it's just, we're going to do it per country, not based upon an industry. Again, like there's probably a list of 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 products that make as little.
Read more books, and more importantly, have some intellectual curiosity, right? Than like Thomas Sowell. Okay, Jesus Christ! Like, there's a reason why nobody freaking uses Thomas Sowell as an actual viable economic source. There's like an actual really, really good reason as to why you wouldn't listen to someone like Sowell.
Sense.
What's wrong with Thomas Sowell? I'm not going to sit here and debate Thomas Sowell. He just has garbage takes on economics.
To produce or to try and build an industry in this country.
And honestly, like, it's illustrated by the fact that like you even thought that there is such a thing as a free market.
A la bananas, despite the fact that we could level Hawaii and just grow bananas there. And also to do it without any ramp up, to say like, under the CHIPS Act, there's this company, TSMC. They're from Taiwan. They came in to build semiconductor chips. They don't have the workers in Arizona to fill all these positions. They had to bring in like 1,000 workers. And the idea is over time they're going to train, but they can't do that because you just don't have the workers yet who know how to work in these factories, because these are, high-tech factories.
As someone who's families lives under a planned economy, I can confirm they are better. I mean, like, we're not even talking about a planned economy. That was their words. I had no idea, like, why they even, like, decided to even type that out. I guess, like, they don't, like, think before they type. Nobody talked about a planned economy. Nobody said the words planned economy at all. Like, that's not even in the conversation.
So the idea that you can just do this overnight without any planning, without any government support. If Donald Trump came out and said, like, we're just doing the, tariffs.
Like, that's what he's talking about. Like, you have to have, like, government intervention for this to work, right? By actually laying down the groundwork for domestic manufacturing. Assuming, right, like, the stuff that you target has to be precise, because you can't have everything manufactured in the U.S. You just can't, okay? You can't have all the stuff that he's tariffing manufactured in the United States. Like, first of all, you put the cart before the horse by putting, like, tariffs on everybody, right? When there's no, like, domestic alternative. And number two, there's just no, like, plan at all to have domestic manufacturing. And number three, you can't have everything built in the U.S. It's just not feasible. I want a planned economy. I'm looking at Kanye dressed up like a Black Klansman. Yep, I saw that. Tommy's always blind, but he sure plays. I caught that reference.
On vehicles, or let's say like solar panels. And we're also simultaneously passing legislation to retrain coal miners to assemble solar panels. And the job's going to be just as well paying, and we're going to send them to school, and we're going to, provide these support, and we're giving, an enterprise zone, I'm just. We're going to give you subsidies to build it in West Virginia or into Pennsylvania, whatever it is. That would make some sense. Broadly speaking, from an ideological perspective, I am all in favor of tearing down the fake free trade regime that we have, because it's fake. It's not a free trade regime. We don't allow labor to go across borders. We allow capital to.
Everyone knows you need a lawyer after a car accident injury. But what if I told you there's a better
what
way?
if I told you?
It gets you more money.
No. Anything above that, anything after that sentence is like probably a scam, right? Because like, what are you talking about? Like, if you're actually involved in a serious car accident, you would need a lawyer. Like, if things get out of hand.
Allow empowerment from corporations over the sovereignty of various countries. I am also not in favor. So, what Sean Fain says is really not that surprising to me.
I'd also say, like, it's kind of, this whole thing with tariffs is kind of avoidance of the real issue with our competitiveness. BYD, the car company that you're going to hear more and more about because they're outcompeting us.
So we're trying to reach you about your extended car warranty. So you're against the human planned economy, but pro AI planned economy, even though all experts agree LLM isn't a intelligence.
It was.
No, I don't know, like, to what degree I would be in favor of like a planned economy. But like, certainly some things, it's certainly like the way this is being run right now, it just can't. Like, it's just not sustainable. Like, capitalism, as we are experiencing right now, is just not sustainable. And this is just the end goal. Kanye roams free because his Black Klansman outfit allows him to merge with the shadows. Not you. Oh, okay.
Was given $2.1 billion in subsidies from the Chinese state 2 years ago.
Of course.
We have to be spending, investing in things that matter for the next century.
And here's the problem, is that the story these guys like to tell is that government has no role in this.
Exactly.
And when they see industries outpace us.
Correct. Quinlaw.
Because they've been supported by government. Because the fact of the matter is, and this is going to come as a shock to a lot of these people, the pursuit of profit is not, sometimes it can be in the best interest of society, but not always. I don't know what the percentage breakdown is. I would say it's much less than I think we give it credit for. Have you ever talked to somebody who's like, who does like VC work in the medical field? They have all these stories of these amazing medical devices or drugs, but they're just not profitable, so they don't invest in them. Number 13, do you think there's no possibility the military gets too concerned about Trump's behavior? Don't they swear to the Constitution? I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not in favor of a military coup. I should just go on record saying that. Yeah. I'm against the military coup. But I think this reality show that we're going through is...
I'd be more worried about corporations.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
I can't hit the subscribe button because then I'll unsubscribe. And then I would be sad. All right, folks, let's get through some of these. Trump threatens more tariffs on China as global markets shudder over how much pain the economy can take. So much winning, folks. I think a military coup is about the only way Trump gets stopped. That's why they keep purging generals. I mean, if that's the only thing left, man, I mean, they're erasing all. They're erasing all institutional avenues by which this could be resolved. Yeah, there's only so many paths this can go, and the longer this goes on, the shorter and shorter of those paths, the number of paths start shrinking, and none of those remaining paths are good. Likeliest outcome: Democrats win big in 2026, retaking the House and Senate, and immediately invoke the 25th Amendment. Yeah, I mean, like, man, the hopium. Okay, the hopium take is that the Democratic Party wins by a big enough margin to take back the House and the Senate, and they impeach and remove Trump. And make him ineligible for him to run again. That's like the hopium, okay, outcome. They don't even follow court orders now, so the last pillar may have some powers in military. To be fair, even a blunder in Iran could lead to Trump being ousted. I mean, he's definitely beating those drums for sure. Undeterred by a panicked stock market, which took a nosedive because, this plan is working so well, President Trump threatened additional tariffs on Monday, raising fresh concerns that his drive to rebalance the global economy could intensify a financially destructive trade war. Trump's threat, which he delivered on social media, came after China said it would retaliate against U.S. tariffs he announced last week. If China does not withdraw its 34% increase above its already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, April 8th of 2025, the United States will impose an additional tariffs on China, 50%, effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings will be terminated. So cool, man. Like, that's cool. Nice. Very cool. The courts theoretically have marshals. I don't know what that means. You can't have a peaceful revolution in a police state if they aren't following laws in courts. Millennium Challenge 2002. Trump should send Biden to the ICC. That would be funny. I mean, as long as he sends himself too, right? The U.S. president has shown few signs of backing down on tariffs. Despite the mounting pressure in the financial markets, his commitment to tariffs could have devastating effects for the global economy, even though Trump is banking that the U.S. voters' patience with him will ultimately pay off with manufacturing jobs. Narrator voice. They won't. Asked Monday if you would consider a pause on tariffs that have threatened the global economy, Trump said, "We're not looking at that." The president said he was not that he was open to negotiations if we can make a really fair deal and that's good for the United States. Trump added that it's possible to have both negotiated settlements with other countries and permanent tariffs. Even as Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had said his country would take its tariffs off against U.S. goods to zero, Trump was non-committal about removing the new imports tax placed on an ally. The White House also said on Monday that Trump would veto a Senate bill that would mandate congressional approval for new tariffs, a bet that the critical mass of Republican lawmakers will loyally back him despite the economic and political risks. Cool. Also, something that gets lost on his followers is that he could have negotiated without launching the tariffs. Right, but he thinks he's like some kind of mob boss, right? Like some kind of mob boss Don, right? But yeah. It would be kind of nice to restore a small amount of my hope for justice to be free and fair. If Trump implements his new taxes on imports from China, U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods would be reached by a combined 104%. Cool, man. The new taxes will be on top of the 20% tariffs announced as punishment for the fentanyl trafficking and a separate 34% tariffs announced last week. Not only could that increase prices for American consumers, it would give China an incentive to flood other countries with cheaper goods and seek deeper relationships with other trading partners, which is exactly what's going to happen. Because like, why would anyone, especially someone like China, who's also an economic powerhouse, would just be like, well, okay, we'll just go somewhere else. We'll just go somewhere else. Like, why do we need to deal with all this, any of this? After sell-offs in the prior 2 days of trading, the Dow Jones Industrial Average on Monday fell another 0.9%, the S&P 0.2%, and the Nasdaq was down 0.1%. Trump frequently bragged about the stock market gains during his first term, and the threat of losses on Wall Street was viewed as a potential guardrail on risky economic policies in his second term, but that hasn't been the case, and Trump has described the days of financial pain as necessary. I don't mind going through it because I see a beautiful picture at the end. Yeah. This is beyond delusional. This is beyond delusional. Trump officials have frequently appeared on television to make the case for his policies, but none of their explanations have calmed the markets because it's all BS, right? Like, the reason why none of their explanations have calmed the markets is because their explanations are lies. It's bullshit. The only improvement came from a false report. The top economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, said that Trump was considering a pause on all tariffs except for China. Stock prices spiked before the White House denied it was true, calling the Post fake news. Yeah. The Republican president has remained defiant despite fears that he could be pushing the U.S. towards a recession, insisting that his tariffs are necessary for rebuilding domestic manufacturing and resetting trade relationships with other countries. No to either of those. But his aggressive push has scrambled U.S. economic policy. Even though inflation remains elevated, Trump has called the Federal Reserve to lower its benchmark interest rates that were increased to constrain price increases. On Friday, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell warned that the tariffs could increase inflation, and he said there's a lot of waiting and seeing going on, including by us, before any decisions could be made. Goldman Sachs issued a new forecast on Sunday saying a recession has become more likely, even if Trump backtracks on the tariffs. The financial firm said the economic growth would slow dramatically following a sharp tightening of financial conditions, foreign consumer boycotts, and continued spike in policy uncertainty that is likely to depress capital spending by more than we had previously assumed. Cool. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the European Union will focus on trade with other countries besides the United States, saying there are vast opportunities elsewhere. Exactly. Trump is actually Wilson Fisk. Their explanation, actually, that's a good comparison. That's actually a good comparison. The explanations don't make any sense when they say stuff like we're going to reshore manufacturing, and the next sentence say stock market will recover its losses. Then when they just said it won't. Yep. Trump said he spoke with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba to start trade negotiations. He complained on Truth Social that they have treated the U.S. very poorly on trade, and they don't take our cars, but we take millions of theirs. Ishiba said to Trump that he's strongly concerned that tariffs would discourage investment from Japan, which has been the world's largest investor in the U.S. in the past 5 years. He described the situation as a national crisis and said the government would negotiate with Washington to urge Trump to reconsider the tariffs. Or, they'll just go somewhere else. The White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro, suggested that countries would need to do much more than simply lower their own tariff rates to reach deals, an indication that talks would be a drawn-out process. Let's take Vietnam, he said on CNBC. When they come to us and say we'll go to zero tariffs, that means nothing to us because it's the non-tariff cheating that matters. What? Okay, they're just making shit up. On Monday, Trump welcomed Los Angeles Dodgers to the White House to celebrate the World Series victories. He also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, said his country would remove the tariffs and other trade barriers in the aftermath of Trump putting 17% taxes on imports from Israel. Kirkin sends Monster, why would Japan need more cars? Donald James, what's up? The reason stocks got so high is people put their e-cash instead of into factories. If people are doing as they claim they will, and building factories, and that cash isn't going to be in stocks, is it? Yeah. Israel can serve as a model for many countries who want to do the same, said Netanyahu. Jesus Christ. Trump said he appreciated very much what Netanyahu had said, but when asked if he would remove the tariffs, Trump said maybe not because of the aid that the United States provides to Israel. The U.S. has a combined... the U.S. had a 7.4 billion trade deficit in goods last year with Israel, according to the Census Bureau. Okay. They just totally contradict themselves continuously. Yeah, because... it's not like there's no way to spin this in a good way, right? Like you just have to like lie. There's no way to spin this other than like, bro is throwing a hand grenade into the global economy, and that's going to screw up everyone. That's literally it. Bill Ackman, a hedge fund manager, lashed out at the Commerce Secretary Lutnick on Sunday as indifferent to the stock market and the economy crashing. On Monday, Ackman apologized for his criticism, claiming that Lutnick, previously had a financial firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, could benefit from the tariffs because of its bond investments, but the hedge fund manager also reiterated his concern about the Trump tariffs. I'm just frustrated watching what I believe could be a major policy error occur after a country and the president have been making huge economic progress that is now at risk due to the tariffs. Sure. Trump is uniting the world against his megalomania. Billionaire Elon Musk, a top advisor to Trump on overhauling the federal government, expressed skepticism about tariffs over the weekend. Musk has tariffs would drive up costs for Tesla, his electric automaker. I hope it's agreed that both Europe and the United States can move ideally, in my view, to a zero tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. He added that certainly has been my advice to the president. Navarro later told Fox News Sunday morning, futures that Musk doesn't understand the situation. He sells cars, that's what he does. Yet he's simply protecting his own interests as any business person would do. Yeah, maybe you can spin it okay to certain anarchists and Machiavellians who think that the ends justify the means, but that's a small part of society. Where are my accelerationists at? Didn't they have a free trade agreement already? Before the tariffs? Unclear. Okay. We've got two more articles on the second main topic that we need to discuss. Trump is intellectually incurious, full of himself, emotionally immature, and entirely unqualified. True. Supreme Court delays midnight deadline for Trump administration to fix mistaken deportation of Maryland man. Somebody called it cacistocracy, where we basically just have bozos in control of it. I mean, it's a mixture, right? Like it could be cacistocracy, kleptocracy, oligarchy, kind of fascism, all kind of wrapped into this neat little package of doom. A bit of an acceleration, to be honest, but I recognize most aren't. Anyone see the martial law warning for the 20th? Yeah, I mean, like, well, it's the reason why they are talking about the 20th and why that's a specific date is because when Trump took office on January 20th, he made a executive order that basically says evaluate what's the situation at the border and do I need to invoke the Insurrection Act? What do you people think? And that's 90 days would be the 420. If there's martial law, what does that even look like? Do they have the capacity to maintain something like that with everyone fired? Who knows? It would definitely be like a shit show if they actually try to invoke the Insurrection Act. But that's why they made the date 420 a important date, because that's the 90 days after January 20th, right? The 3 months. It would get shaky in places. Yeah. The United States going into martial law would get that's a calm way of describing it. Yes. The Supreme Court delays midnight deadline for Trump administration to fix mistaken deportation of Maryland man. The Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts has issued a temporary administrative stay, putting off a midnight deadline for the government to return a mistakenly deported Maryland man to the U.S., giving the court more time to consider the arguments presented by both sides. The Trump administration had asked the Supreme Court for emergency intervention in the case of Kilmar Armando Abrega Garcia, who the government, by its own admission, was removed to El Salvador by mistake and illegally. Roberts did not explain that decision. Administrative stays are not rulings on the merits in any way and do not indicate one way or another how the court might eventually rule. The Supreme Court requested a response by Trump's request from Garcia's attorneys by 5 p.m. on Tuesday. This is really like an important case to follow because like if they like the argument is so freaking like disgusting, but like legally speaking, it's also very, very freaking dubious, right? They're basically saying like, we can't do anything about it. Did you see that 75% of people sent to El Salvador had no criminal record? Yep. We're getting to it. Don't worry. And they can't rectify that. So yeah, which is BS. In the filing earlier on Monday, Trump administration Solicitor General John Sawyer argued that the federal court cannot order a president to engage in foreign diplomacy, which he says is implicitly involved in potential return of Kilmar Armando Abrega Garcia, who the Trump administration alleges is a gang member, which is not true. Yeah, I'm losing my mind, bro. Yeah, I mean, understandable. How do you know he's not a gang member? Fuck off. It was only a matter of time, you piece of shit. It was only a matter of time, you piece of shit. Not surprised I hadn't seen it, but I did say it from the start. It would have been publicly visible figures, so I expected many with no records. Yeah, I mean, like, oh, do you know he wasn't a gang member, bro? Yeah, well, you know what would have been nice? Due process. You know what would have been nice to suss that question out? If you had any intellectual curiosity and actually cared about rights, about human rights? Due process. Which was circumvented and destroyed, and he ended up in a supermax prison with no evidence to make that claim. Like, it actually takes like a special kind of disgusting human, right, to think that way, right? Because what you're saying, right, what you're saying essentially, what this clown in chat was saying, is that is that you can just say that a person's a criminal, a person's a gang member, a person did a crime without evidence, right? When that's not how this works here, okay? At all. I'm with chat. That guy was probably in a gang. True. I mean, like, yeah, why not? You know, I think that the username, whatever his name was, Salsar, whatever. I'm not even going to bother to go back to that. Yeah, I think they're in a gang, and they should be in the Supermax prison, right? Never to be seen again. It's just so ridiculous. I enjoy the passions you're showing, Carlos. Let the hatred flow through you. It's not even hatred, it's just anger. It's just anger that someone could be so freaking disgusting. You know, it's just so infuriating that there are people here, right, in this country, presumably in this country, saying that this is okay, right? Saying that, well, how do you know he wasn't a gang member, bro? Well, we would, if we had if he had due process, we would know. And incidentally, yeah, there was freaking if he had any intellectual curiosity and look into the actual case, right? Look into the actual court documents, you would know that actually he has never been convicted of a crime. He was never being investigated for a crime. Like, he had no criminal record. Okay. Yeah, exactly. If this is not bothering you, you're not paying attention. Or you're like that other disgusting person and actually like this, and this is okay to you, right? That's it. Either you're not paying attention willingly or unwillingly, or you're okay with this. We're entertaining Warhammer 40k types logic with this one. Yeah, basically. 800 nothing years since some ruler tried this in West. Had always we always had due process, as dodgy as it might be. We know that lead poisoning is a real thing. True. We've had due process over 800 years. Due effing process. Everyone in this country, regardless of citizenship, is awarded that right. Correct. Abrego Garcia, despite having protected legal status, which again, they would have known if they had any intellectual curiosity to actually look into the case, was sent to the notorious concentration camp in El Salvador following what the government said was an administrative error. So, like, they're already saying this was a mistake. So, like, just absolutely go F yourself. And, like, never show up, like, to any like, lefty chat again. Like, just go F yourself, dude. Seriously, go fuck yourself. Ugh, what a gross person. In March, Abrego Garcia, whose wife is a U.S. citizen who has a 5-year-old child, was stopped by the Gestapo, who informed him that his immigration status had changed. According to his attorneys, he was detained and then transferred to a detention center in Texas before being shipped to the concentration camp. Actually, no, Warhammer would be better than this. The Emperor is not a clown, at least. Drumblemore, rating with a party of 4. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for bringing your wonderful community here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Give a shout out to Drumblemore. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't seen me before, I am A Difficult Truth. I do the news. I do the politics. We're here Monday to Thursday around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. If you enjoy your stay, by the way, hit the follow button. Abrego Garcia entered the United States in 2011 when he was 16 to escape the gang violence in El Salvador, according to his lawyers. Simon Sandoval Monchenberg, the attorneys representing Abrego Garcia, said last week he said his client is not a member of MS-13, as the government has alleged, but he said that's an issue for an immigration judge to address. Yeah, I mean, like, also, he was escaping the gang violence, and they literally put him in a prison. They literally put him in a prison with gangs. Parents don't believe him. His commentary is satire. He's pro-Trump. He's trolling libs. True. Can ICE officers be held criminally liable for violating court orders? Unclear. I don't know. Because, like, the law and the Constitution doesn't really freaking matter. I don't know. In a sane and rational world, you would say, like, yeah, of course these people would be, like, facing the Hague, right? But I don't know. Yeah, we're grifting the libs. Keep up the tariffs, Comrade Trump. Make them 5,000%. True. Abrego Garcia entered the United... Okay, we went through this. When a government harms a person without following the exact course of the law, this constitutes a due process violation which offends the rule of law. Yep. The appeal to the Supreme Court came on Monday morning, just before the U.S. Appeals Court of the Fourth Circuit reaffirmed Friday's ruling by U.S. District Judge Paul Zinas that Abrego Garcia must be returned by Monday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The Fourth Circuit of Appeals rejected Trump's administration's emergency motion to block the order to return Garcia to the U.S. By the way, the reason why they're so hell-bent on making sure that this doesn't happen is because if they're forced to bring Abrego Garcia back, number one, this is going to be a massive PR. He's going to go on the news and describe what happened. Okay, he's going to give a story, and that's not. And the American people are going to learn what exactly is happening. So they don't want that. They don't want the American people finding out what's happening with these concentration camps, and the fact that they're literally sending innocent people there. Okay, they're literally sending innocent people there. And number two, if his case can be argued, then it sets a precedent for other people's cases, and they don't want that. I wonder if anyone figured out the identities of people that snatched up that Turkish student. Unclear. 2,000 years of Chinese prosperity up and coming. Yep. The unanimous decision, a panel of 3 judges agreed to Zina's orders, requiring the government to facilitate and effectuate the return of Abrego Garcia by the United States no later than 11:59 p.m. Monday, April 7th, should not be stayed. The United States government has no legal authority to snatch a person who is lawfully present in the United States off the street and remove him from the country without due process. 100%. The government's contention otherwise, and its argument that the federal courts are powerless to intervene, are unconscionable. I mean, this is the case, right? One of the cases that need to be watched, right? And China surely has to do some sort of refugee worker program for the humiliated Americans. I'm sure someone knows who they are, where they would have shown up at an office with cameras. I really do hope he can come back, 100%. If it is truly a mistake, one would also expect the government to do what it can to rectify it. Most of us attempt to undo, to the extent that we can, the mistakes that we have made, but to the best of my knowledge, the government has not made the attempt here. In a concurring opinion, the U.S. Circuit Judge Robert King, and U.S. Circuit Judge Stephanie Thacker said if the government wants to prove that the Maryland man who was sent to El Salvador was a prominent member of MS-13, they had ample opportunity to do so, but have not even bothered to try. The reason why is because they have no evidence. He was under protected status, okay? The government has made no effort to demonstrate that Abrego Garcia is, in fact, a member of any gang, because there is no evidence. If only there was a process that was due to people to kind of suss that out. If only. If only there was a process that was due to people, okay, that was enshrined in the Constitution, we would have avoided all this. This was what Rex Terminator was talking about. Most migrants sent to mega prisons have no apparent criminal record. 3/4, or about 75% of the Venezuelan migrants flown from Texas to a notorious concentration camp had no apparent criminal record. The lack of evidence of a criminal record is consistent with many other immigrant removals under the Trump administration so far, and possess serious questions over the deportations to the concentration camp in El Salvador, as a judge ordered at least one man returned, which is the case we're talking about. The migrants were removed after the president invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to accelerate mass deportation of Venezuelan migrants suspected of being gang members. Civil liberties groups have attacked the move since the deportations came with little to no due process, arguing that the United States is not at war and therefore unjustified in the use of its 18th century wartime law. Yeah. The CBS News 60-minute report found that 75% of the 238 migrants sent to the concentration camp known as CCOT had no traces of criminal records. At least 22% of the men on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad, but the vast majority are for non-violent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. So not gang-related, and only a dozen are accused of murder, assault, and kidnapping. So that's accused, not convicted. It's unclear whether a criminal record exists for about 3% of those deported. CBS News obtained the names of the migrants through internal government documents and reviewed their paths. Andri Romero, a gay makeup artist who came to the United States last year in search of asylum, was among those deported. Photos taken by Time magazine photographer Philip Halsinger shows Hernandez Romero at CCOT. Halsinger said that he heard a young man say, "I'm not a gang member, I'm gay and I'm a stylist." The young man cried for his mother as he was slapped and had his head shaved, Halsinger said. Hernandez Romero's crown tattoos, which included the name of his parents, were also visible in the photos taken by him. Those tattoos, crowns, were the only evidence the U.S. immigration officials presented in court to accuse him of being a part of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. So, yeah, that's it. That's the only evidence. So to the disgusting husk of a human being that was here, like that's literally the type of stuff that we are excusing. Maybe Canada can snatch up Michigan. That'd be cool. I think most of us would be fine. I'm willing to learn French if that helps. How can you deport someone to a concentration camp in El Salvador who's never been to El Salvador? Very simply by just doing so without due process, and who cares? I really hope that those people can come back to safe. This makes me sick to my stomach. Yep. Best we can do is a concentration camp in El Salvador. Sorry. I doubt they can return those people. Well, I mean, they could. It's just a matter of we wanting to. Yeah, you got an Air Jordan 10 too? Boom. Concentration camp. Bye. It will entirely be up to what El Salvador decides. I mean, the United States can be like, look, bro, if you don't give us those people back, like, we'll just take them back. The El Salvadorian government would not have a choice if the United States actually, like, threatened them for real. Ground level news, welcome. It's trafficking. Yep. Directly, El Salvador to agree to hand back people are usually resistant to hand back slaves. That's true, but if we wanted to, they wouldn't have a say in that. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we really wanted to, if we really wanted to, their input is unnecessary. Is not necessary. We could just be like, look, if you don't give us back our citizens or people who were wrongly deported because they have court cases pending because they need to go through the process and yada yada yada, we will take them back. And how that happens is up to you. You know? A Salvadorian national living in Maryland legally was wrongly deported to El Salvador. The Department of Justice submitted in court papers filed last week. This is the case we were talking about. It was a question about gang affiliation and transfer to a Texas detention center before being taken to the concentration camp. The judge ordered the U.S. to bring back Abrego Garcia from the Salvadoran concentration camp by midnight. The 60 Minutes report confirms what many families of deported immigrants have claimed. The U.S. wrongly deported their loved ones to the concentration camp and misinterpreted tattoos. More court challenges are likely to come, but again, it's really dependent on what happens, because a judge can say you have to return these people, but like, what if they don't? What if the government continues to stand on this point of saying like, well, too bad. El Salvador would have to wait. Canada and Greenland are first. True. Greenland is part of NATO, correct? Well, kind of. Like, Greenland is a region of Denmark, which Denmark is in NATO. Name another world leader who expanded his borders with fascistic policies, not Trump. I can name a few. My house was destroyed by Hurricane Andrew back in 92. I'd never live in Florida again. Like, how does that work? Like, if U.S. attacks, we'd have to attack ourselves? True. No, I don't know how that would work, honestly. I genuinely don't know. Like, if Article 5 gets invoked, but, like, it's a NATO member that, like, attacked the NATO, I don't know. I genuinely don't know how that would work. Atlantic Treaty. It's in the Atlantic. Maybe we would have to divide our forces. Like, only half of the forces are allowed to fight. I don't know. Is it just the U.S. that's bad at honoring its treaties, or is that a global thing? Nope, just the U.S. Well, it's not just the U.S., but, like, we've been doing some... Recently, we've been doing some really, like, bad faith negotiations. Hey, Carlos, did you see my stupid artwork in Discord? Nope, but after stream, I'm going to go and hop in to check that out. NATO's already prepared for such a scenario ever since Turkey and Greece were having beef. We don't have enough soldiers, and also people hate Trump. True. Most mutual defense treaties contain a nullification clause if one of the members attacks the other. That makes sense. I was thinking we could make a new emoji. Oh, that's awesome. I'll definitely check it out. All right, folks. It's time for me to get out of here. It's almost 7:30, folks. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys joining here today. On Orange Monday. Tomorrow will be Orange Tuesday, I imagine. It's eating time, exactly. I imagine tomorrow it's going to be Orange Tuesday. We'll see. We'll see what happens. One thing's for sure. Buckle up, folks. It's not looking too great. Buckle up, folks. Buckle up now. I appreciate you guys being here. If you want to support the channel, folks, some of the best ways of doing so is spreading the word here, folks. We're here Monday through Thursday, about 5 p.m. Eastern time. So bring a friend, lend me your eyeballs. That's one of the best ways to support the channel. If you're on the YouTube, keep liking the stream, keep subscribing. We're almost at 350. Thank you. If you're on Twitch, keep liking the stream or keep following. I appreciate it. Thank you for the raid, Drama War. I appreciate that. If you want to support the channel directly, check out the merch store and hit that exclamation mark tip. You want to rate Ariana Jasmine on Twitch? Sure, we'll go there. No problem. Take care. Don't be getting kidnapped. Nope. Don't plan on it. Yeah, Trump will release economic and fertility prosperity on America. That's funny. Ooh. The fact that he said that is just... Ooh, the fertility president. Heat with a 100 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in, lefties. Appreciate it. Ariana is cool. Does great stuff. Great stuff. Appreciate you guys being here. Join the Discord if you want to keep up with the channel. Subscribe to the Substack. Do all the awesome stuff. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow. I have a plan for everything, almost everything, including being kidnapped. I haven't thought that far. Thank you all for being here. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow about 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. See ya. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hasser, for modding the chat. Appreciate it. We had a couple of live ones today. Ground level news. Thank you. All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. The trolls were so cute.